You assure us this technology won't destabilize the planetary defense grid. It is designed for stability, human. Your fear is unwarranted.
The alarms hit before the coffee did. On Kestrel Station, orbiting the fog-wrapped mining world of Thren, sirens meant one of three things: hull breach, reactor spike, or a Voss ship in the docking ring. Dr. Mira Solano, human xenolinguist, and the only person on the station who could translate 17 alien dialects without a neural patch, froze mid-sip and looked up at the ceiling speakers. It was none of the three. It was worse. All personnel, the station AI intoned. A Voss emissary-class vessel has requested emergency docking. Diplomatic Protocol Sigma is now in effect. Mira's cup hit the table so hard it cracked. In 4 years on Kestrel, she had never once seen a Voss ship. Not a trade vessel, not a scout, nothing. The Voss didn't dock. They didn't visit. They watched from a distance the way a wolf watches a campfire, and everyone on the station had been trained since childhood on exactly one rule about them: never touch a Voss. Not a handshake, not a pat on the shoulder, nothing. Because for the Voss, touch was not casual. Touch was a binding. She should have remembered that 5 minutes later when she was the first person standing in the docking bay and the airlock doors peeled open to reveal a single figure stepping out alone. No guard, no translator, no entourage. Just one tall, silver-skinned woman with eyes like liquid mercury, wrapped in a cloak that seemed to drink the light around her. The Voss looked directly at Mira. Not at Station Commander Reyes standing rigid to her left, not at the wall of armed security behind her. At Mira. "You are the one who speaks," the boss said. Her voice had a strange double tone to it, like two people speaking half a second apart. "I am Thray Veskayal, second emissary of the Ninth Spiral. I did not come here to speak with your commanders. I came here to speak with you." Commander Reyes's jaw tightened. "Emissary, all diplomatic contact goes through." "I did not ask the human hierarchy," Threa said, still looking only at Mira. "I asked for her." The silence that followed had teeth in it. Mira had spent 6 years studying the Voss from data fragments, intercepted transmissions, second-hand accounts from traders who'd survived encounters at the edge of Voss territory. She knew their grammar had no word for stranger, only not yet known and known. She knew their ships ran on something the engineers still couldn't explain. What she didn't know, what nobody knew, was why one had just crossed 11 light-years to stand in front of her specifically. Commander Reyes pulled her aside before the meeting could even begin, his voice a hard whisper. "Solano, I don't know what game this is, but you do not engage beyond protocol. You translate. You do not improvise, are we clear?" "Crystal," Mira said, though her pulse was doing something it had no business doing. They set up in the station's neutral conference dome, a glass bubble overlooking the swirling gray clouds of Thren below. Reyes sat across from Mira, ignoring the seat that had been positioned for her near Reyes, choosing instead the one directly opposite Mira's own. "Your language has a flaw," Trea said before anyone else could speak. "You have one word for love and use it for everything: a child, a meal, a planet, a partner. We have 11 words. I searched your files for 3 days trying to find which one applies to you." Mira blinked. "I'm sorry? Applies to me how?" Threa's mercury eyes didn't waver. "I have watched your transmissions for 2 years, your lectures on dying languages, the way you speak about things others have forgotten. In the spiral, that is called the Seska, the keeper of drowned names. It is a sacred role. We do not have one anymore. We lost ours 300 cycles ago." Reyes leaned forward. "Emissary, with respect, we were told this visit concerned mining rights along the Thren corridor." "It does," Threa said simply. "But first, I required an answer to a different question." Her eyes returned to Mira. "Would you become Thasaka for my people? Not as prisoner, not as trophy, as bonded kin, with full rank among the Ninth Spiral?" The room went very, very quiet. Mira felt every eye in that glass dome swing toward her, and for one absurd second all she could think was, this was not in the briefing. "I don't." She started, "I don't fully understand what that means, culturally, for someone outside your people. It means, Threa said, and for the first time something almost gentle crossed her sharp features, that you would never again be not yet known to us. It means my people would owe you the same protection as blood. It also means, she paused, and the pause felt deliberate, weighted. It cannot be refused without consequence. Among the spiral, an offer of Thesca that is rejected is not a small insult. It is the deepest one. Some among my people believe war would be preferable to shame. Commander Reyes's face went the color of old paper. You're telling us that a woman none of us have ever met has to accept a binding alien title, or we risk a diplomatic incident with an armed, technologically superior civilization we know almost nothing about? I am telling you, Freya said, that I have already broken protocol simply by explaining this to a room instead of to her alone. My elders do not know I am doing this. If you interrupt again, Commander, I cannot promise what happens to this station in the next 6 hours. Mira's mouth had gone completely dry. This was no longer a linguistics problem. This was the kind of moment that ended up in history archives with her name attached to it, for better or catastrophically worse. Why me? She finally asked, quiet just to Thray, like the room had emptied. Out of every scholar, every diplomat humanity has, why me? Threya's answer came without hesitation. Because you're the only human who ever translated one of our funeral songs and cried. I watched the recording 41 times. Grief recognizes grief, Mira Solano. That is not a small thing to my people. That is everything. Something in Mira's chest cracked open in a way she did not expect and could not name. They gave her 6 hours to decide. 6 hours before the Voss ship's internal countdown. Visible now on every station display, a language of pulsing lights none of the engineers could decode, reached 0. Reyes wanted her sedated and moved off station under military escort. The station's diplomatic liaison wanted her locked in with a legal team. Everyone had an opinion about her life except, it seemed, Mira herself. She found Frey alone in the observation dome an hour before the deadline, watching the storms roll across Thren's surface. They think you're manipulating me, Mira said. Some kind of soft invasion. Get one human bound to your people, use her as a foothold. They are not wrong to be afraid, Threa said, not turning. Fear is reasonable when you understand so little. But I did not come 11 light years for strategy, Mira. I came because for 2 years I have watched you speak to the dead languages of your own species like they were still breathing, and something in me, something we do not have a clean word for, even in 11, decided I would rather be known by you than remain safe and unseen for another 300 cycles. Mira stepped closer, closer than protocol would ever allow, close enough to see her own reflection twinned in that mercury gaze. If I say yes, she said slowly, what happens to me? Really, not the ceremony, the rest of my life. You become the first bridge in 3 centuries, Threa said. You become hated by some of my people and worshipped by others. You will never again be fully human in the eyes of your own government, and never fully Voss in the eyes of mine. You will belong to neither world completely. A pause. And you will belong, always, completely, to me. The countdown ticked past its final hour outside the glass. Somewhere in the station, Commander Reyes was almost certainly authorizing something Mira did not want to think about. Somewhere above Thren, an alien warfleet may or may not have been listening for a single word from its emissary. And Mira Solano, keeper of drowned names, translator of things nobody else could hear, reached out, knowing exactly what the gesture meant among the Voss, knowing there was no version of her life after this moment that looked anything like the one before it, and closed her hand around Threa's. The lights across the entire station dimmed for exactly 1 second, as if something vast and ancient had just exhaled. It is done, Threa whispered, and for the first time her double-toned voice cracked into something singular. Now the real war begins, not the one my elders feared, the one for whether 2 worlds can survive loving each other at all. Outside the glass, the Voss ship's countdown lights shifted from red to a slow pulsing gold. Nobody on Kestrel Station slept that night. And somewhere out past the edge of charted space, in a language humanity had no word for yet, The ninth spiral was already arguing about what Mira Solano's hand in Thrace would mean for the fate of two civilizations that had, until 6 hours ago, never once touched.